We saw in the weather update that the storm in the Atlantic Ocean is now a tropical depression. We're afraid that it's going to affect our trip to Tampa, so we need to know, how does a storm grow and become a hurricane?
First, you need to know a little bit about pressure systems and how they form on Earth.
We learned about air pressure from Dr. D. Is this the same thing?
There are two types of air pressure systems, high and low. The uneven distribution of the Earth's surface causes them to form.
So you mean that's why it's hotter at the equator than at the North and South poles?
Exactly. And we also have local temperature variations depending on the land surface type. And these local temperature variations cause air to rise in some areas and to sink in other areas. This rising and sinking motion causes high and low pressure areas in the atmosphere.
Well, what do high and low pressure systems have to do with the tropical storm?
We have regions in the tropics that are warmer and cooler than other regions. Low pressure forms in the warm regions, and once they form, they move from east to west.
I remember we learned in the case of the mysterious red light that winds in the tropics are called trade winds. These winds move from the east to the west. Is that why they move in a westerly direction?
Yes, and as low pressure areas move over the warm tropical oceans, they gather heat and moisture from the ocean and cause thunderstorms. The rain in the thunderstorms warms the atmospheric air column. That causes the surface pressure to lower, thus strengthening the low pressure area.
So as the warm air rises, the pressure in the system gets cooler.
Something like that. The middle and upper atmospheric winds take away air from the low pressure areas and deposit them in the high pressure areas. And we end up with very small but intense low pressure areas and very weak but large high pressure areas.
And what's the third way?
That happens when a hurricane forms an eye.
An eye? I know he doesn't mean a real eye.
No, it's the center of the hurricane where there is no cloud. Air is sinking near the center of the hurricane, and as it sinks, it warms up dramatically. That warming causes the hurricane to intensify rather dramatically.
Dr. D told us that wind is formed when air moves from an area of high pressure to an area of low pressure. Do the winds of a hurricane increase as the pressure drops?
Yes, and the winds typically increase as you move toward the eye or the center of the hurricane. In strong hurricanes, the winds can vary rather dramatically, from about 20 miles per hour on the outskirts of the hurricane to more than 150 miles per hour near the center in the eye wall of a hurricane.
Is the wind the fastest in the eye?
Actually, that's a common misconception. It isn't. The winds are strongest just outside the eye and decrease rather dramatically toward the circulation center, where they're oftentimes light and variable.
Sounds like a place to be in a hurricane.
Is there a particular time of year hurricanes are more likely to form?
That's a great question. And in the northern hemisphere, it's June through November, when the sea surface temperatures are warmest and the land areas are hottest. It's ideal for hurricane formation.
You've given us a lot to think about.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help. And be sure to watch the Weather Channel for all the tropical storm and hurricane advisories and updates. You also might want to visit the NASA Y-Files website's research rack and check out the link to the Weather Channel.
We will. Thanks. Goodbye.